touch, quite continental, but never enough. Your songs alive, it's on the backseat. Rewind the last song, it's trying to be wild. Your songs alive, it's on the radio, it's on the backseat. From airport to airport, desperate for success. It's hard to remember when the city's a mess. Why do you hurt him? Unusual girl, I'm with the program, dead to the world. Your songs alive, it's on the backseat. Rewind the last song, it's trying to be wild. Your songs alive, it's on the radio, it's trying to be wild.
Yeah, folks, take all of that in. Every single iota. How good was that, people? I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed it, and I know you will too. You better enjoy it. That was wild by the absolutely sensational Wade Jackson, who has very recently come out with his new album, fifth album, would you believe? So the man's very accomplished. The album, of course, is called Sensationalized, and it's out now. You've all probably heard about it because Gar's been banging on about it for the last month or so. We've played one of his tracks off it. And you know what? I'm so keen because he's on the phone right now from Sydney, ready to chat some shit about the album and maybe chat some shit about each other. Please give him a warm bar talk welcome to Wade Jackson. Wade, are you there?
G'day, I'm here. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Thank you so much for coming on. I know it's a very sort of balmy day today, both here and up there in Sydney.
Yeah, it's very balmy today, but it's good excuse to stay inside with the fans running. Give them a good run.
That's it. Keeping hydrated, I hope.
Very much so. Very much so.
Very nice. I heard beers on the cards later for you.
Definitely. I was almost tempted to crack one before the interview, but I thought I'll behave.
We were talking before we started the interview about what drinks we prefer and that in certain situations. You were mentioning in winter you're like more of a stout guy, bit of red wine, that sort of thing. But in summer, on a day like today, what would you normally go for?
Oh, definitely reach for the beers first, and then maybe a nice white.
Oh yes.
I do like a white, especially in summer.
That's fair. Like when you say a beer, though, which is like a lager or something like that.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a pale ale man, and but I do like a lager from time to time. You know, if they're done well. There's so much. I've got a pub across the road from me that's got about 30 different beers on tap, but it can get a little bit confusing at times when you get like a pineapple mango licorice flavored beer or something like that, which is a little scary.
Because you're in the middle, you're not too far from the centre of Sydney. I know you're sort of in the area where Young and Jackson's is located. I know that. I was going to say you must like a good Newtowner.
I don't mind a Newtowner.
Yeah.
Don't mind a new town. Yeah, it's on tap everywhere here. So
I was going to say it's still pretty popular down here too. Like it's in the Fitzroy areas. You know, it gets on tap a few places. I know a few places it's on tap, and it goes down nicely if it's there.
yeah, it's very popular. I mean, it's still it's not in every pub because you know there's still got your Tuies and VB army out there, and of course Rashers.
Yeah, I've never quite got Tuies. I think it's like the same for me in VB. I've never quite got the Tuies. It's all right. Tuies dark I like, but just the regular Tuies can't. It's not going to be my first choice if there's a bit of choice there available for me.
Yeah, same. But if it's free, it's free.
If it's true, and that's why I'm a musician, folks. They always give me Tuies as the writer.
Exactly.
Well. Thanks for opening up on that elaborate description of your drinking habits. But again, welcome to the show. I'm so keen to have you on because I have to say, good job with the album. It's such a nice, concise piece of work. It's only it's less than 40 minutes long in total, but there's a lot going on there. A lot of there's a nice bit of variation, really good instrumentals throughout the whole thing. Comes together as a really good theme. So I must say, good job.
Thank you. I'm so happy that you like it. And, it's been very quiet. Apart from the fact that the good folks at Broken Stone Records heard it through a dear friend of mine and signed me up to the label, so to speak, which that's always encouraging. But to make a experimental. I guess art rock, avant-garde style record these days is it's very difficult to keep people's attention given all the social media and everything that's out now. I think the attention spans less than 30 seconds now. So it's a tough ask, but it didn't stop me from being delusional about putting the album out and thinking, yeah, this is going to be the big one that everyone's going to love, but. Yeah, I'm so glad that you're all digging it down there.
It's not really the TikTok friendly album, is it?
Certainly not. No. It's I did my friend I was talking about before, Liam Judson. He's plays as Lewis Goldmark now, and was in Bells Will Ring. The first time I showed it, we sat down and listened in my studio to the whole album, and he just turned around and said, "Are you okay?" I went, yeah. And he goes, "Awesome, great."
I was going to say this particular album. The first thing I noticed about it was it just captured 2020, I think, in a nutshell. And that makes sense because I see that you did write it actually during when sort of everything was hitting the fan. So, I mean, was that your intention from the start to create this sort of piece of art that was reflecting the world around you? Or was it a case of it was just a happy accident?
I think it was a happy accident, but I remember when the lockdown was announced here in Sydney and I guess right throughout Australia, and that to me was, and I know a lot of people suffered and lives were lost and everything, so I've got to be actually careful. But that to me was like a green light to, okay, the government's going to pay me some money to sit in my house and make a record. So I took full advantage of it, and I just I immersed myself in it so deeply, and it was basically all I was doing. I mean, I live alone, and I'd call my parents in the morning, and maybe call a couple of friends, and then I'd just get straight into work, and I created this whole scene of exaggerated city that falls apart, and it becomes this dystopian, city where witches were roaming and all this kind of weird. I also started watching that The Walking Dead as well, which probably I was just like, yeah, I'm going to go with this.
So yeah, it probably didn't help.
Didn't help at all. But
it says the whole end of the world thing.
That. Yeah, well, and I think I didn't set out to kind of capture what was happening, but I kind of accidentally did, I guess.
I was going to say, because you go on about this exaggerated city business, but I know you've travelled quite a bit throughout your career here and there. You've been to Europe and a lot of other places as well. But was there any sort of city that you had in mind maybe that you visited that I guess was you were trying to bring to the forefront of this fictional city? Maybe something you were trying to mirror in a particular place you've been?
Not really. I mean, the previous record, I just kept thinking about Berlin the whole time. So that was really at the forefront of my mind. I just kept thinking like grey, cold. But this time I didn't really have to, because it with everything that was happening, it was so crazy. For none of us have been through that, and to have this lockdown where I'd kind of look out the window a lot in the spare room where I had to set up my studio, and look out the window a lot. And I live on quite a busy street, but there was no cars going by, and and then at night it was just so I felt really isolated, and which I used as sort of to write the lyrics and and set the mood of the record.
Yeah, so it was sort of you were sort of looking at what you were saying at the time and using that as inspiration to the scenes you were painting lyrically, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not articulating it very well, but it was like I'd go out occasionally, just go for a little walk at night, just down the road or something, and it was completely. There's no one around at all, and it was such an eerie feeling because Redfern's it's very busy, and it's busy up to about 1 a.m. So to have no one around, it just felt. So it was weirdly inspiring.
I was going to say, the album was completely recorded sort of solo yourself?
Yeah. It was completely recorded from pretty much the first day or two of the lockdown announcement, and it finished just as we started. It kind of finished just as it started opening up again. So like that soft opening where you could go into a bar, and we're signing into bars and all that was brand new, and you had to wait to be seated, and you couldn't get up unless you're using the bathroom. And so that entire time, it was just me up here, and what we call whacking away on the keyboard and the guitars and making a heap of noise,
finding settings that you didn't know existed till now.
Yeah, it's just going, what's this?
So on that topic, how much time you just, at the start, did you just sit down and go, okay, what does this button do?
Well, I'm so impatient. I'm not able to sit there and go through sound after sound after sound. I usually will, do a lucky dip and spin the wheel and go, where does that land? Okay, do I like that? No, do it again. No, I like that. Then I'll get a sound, and I know straight away that's it, and I'll stick to it. Because I very rarely will put down something and go, I'll change that later, because it'll get it'll change. I think it changes the color of the track. So I make sure I get it, but I choose quickly, because if I start messing around too much, I'll get bored and go, I might just go out and watch TV. That kind of thing. So that's my work fast. I need to work fast to keep myself interested.
Yeah. I was going to say, was this the first time that you've gone and actually brought this approach to writing an album, like doing it sort of at the same time as recording, or has this been the sort of path that you've been taking over the last few years?
Well, this Sensationalized and the previous album, The Ghost Searchers Beside Me, it was a totally different approach to writing. I used to write, I'd pick up a guitar and, hum a melody and do all that kind of thing like everyone else, well, most people do, and, then try and fit words to the melody. And whereas something strange happened at the start of that last record where the process completely changed, and I didn't want to mess with that. I almost felt, it was a little bit magic, and I was a conduit for whatever was coming. So I just let it flow straight through. And that's why I started working really fast and using, mixing the record, using that as a creative process as well.
So you mean actually using the art of mixing as almost like an instrument in terms of getting like a different sound?
Yeah, so my process is I'm writing, playing the instrument, and I mix as I go as much as I can. I mean, I go back over it and do, I'll do a full day or sometimes 3 days on a track or whatever. But it's as I'm mixing, I'm creating sounds and just playing with, even balancing volumes and stuff. For me, it can inspire me to vocally or something like that. So I know I kind of know then when it's time to throw a vocal down or a scratch vocal or so it's I've got a bit of a weird, I guess, method going on. I was told when I started to learn how to mix was there were no rules, so I went, okay, good.
That's the only rule, right?
Yeah, that's my friend said to me. Because I said, "Can you do this? Are you allowed to do this?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" I went, "Well, can you put 2 basses in there?" Dude, there are no rules. And I'm like, okay, right, excellent. So hopefully it sounds good.
Because you mentioned before about how you were trying to be a bit more experimental than your previous records. I was just hoping to know where in that process, because then you're telling me going on about like this more. It seems like this is more of a pretty logical progression from where you were going with your previous releases. What were you? Was there anything sort of consciously that you were looking at doing different this time in terms of the composition or even the way you were putting the songs together?
Not really. I wish I had a better answer. But I actually don't even set out to be experimental. And one thing
you're hoping it to be a pop record, were you, Wade?
Well, it's funnily enough when I was in. There's a part in Nightlife where I was like, I want it to kind of sound as close to, something off the wall by Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah.
And, I went, I want it to sound quite poppy in that bit, but it didn't. But I don't. Yeah, I've never kind of set out to make like a weird record, because nothing annoys me more as when people describe their music as weird. It's kind of weird. I'm like, it's not weird if you're trying to make weird music.
I was going to say, do you think it's an oxymoron? Like if you're saying it's weird, it can't be, because if you like it, it can't be weird.
Yeah. It's just. I don't know what people say. It's just like, I bet you I've heard a lot stranger than what you're going to show me. Or I think if you're setting out to make weird music, it's not going to be musical. It's going to. It's going to sound, like one of those kind of strange avant-garde albums from the 70s or something. I didn't go, let's make a weird album.
There's a weird comparison I was drawing, and you say experimental and weird and that. It's actually funny that you mentioned that, because as I was listening through it, there's that one track where you have like the pre-recorded recording of them. They're like at the evangelical sort of televangelical praise Jesus, praise Donald Trump thing going on. And you know what that specifically reminds me of? I don't know if you're aware of the composer John Adams at all. He's still around. He's an American composer. He's big big since about the 70s, and he's like pretty much passed the baton from John Cage, but he's a bit more rhythmic than that. And there's a particular piece that's called Christian Zeal and Activity, and it's pretty much just like the organic version of that song. It's got like a bunch of slow burning strings, and then it's got this famous pastor, televangelical pastor, just doing his spiel over the top of it. And that's what reminded me of that. So I thought, I could get that it's kind of drawing. I don't know if you've ever been compared to a classical composer before, but that's what I was getting at. Like, there's a lot of different influences in there that you get these sort of 80s thing, almost like, I don't know, not Kraftwerk or even Depeche Mode, or sort of like that late 80s thing with Nightlife. And then in the middle, you've got this random sort of insert from God knows where. And I'm comparing it to an experimental composer from the 80s.
Well, I'll take that over being compared to Hootie and the Blowfish or something. But that was I recorded that in New York about a year ago, and I was messing around with some chords. And I thought, what am I going to sing over this? And I just couldn't come up with a melody. And then I don't know what made me think of it. I wonder if I've still got that recording of the Street Preacher.
Oh, is that so? That's you recorded that on the street yourself?
Yeah, I recorded it through my iPhone. Yeah, I was with a good friend of mine, Jonathan Sequeira, who made the Radio Birdman film, and we were there together. And there's no one around, and I could hear this guy, the closer we're getting to him, and I walked up and went, this guy's kind of preaching to no one, just standing there. And so I, popped my phone on record, and he that's exactly what I recorded, what you hear on the record.
Right.
There's no more, no less. I didn't edit anything, and and when I put it in, it just felt really magical. There's something. It just worked over the chords, and and I thought it was a kind of a good segue into the next track, and and the fact that he was, there was only probably Jonathan and I, and maybe two other people in there, and he was just so driven and so enthusiastic the way he was preaching, and I just thought, and I kind of pictured with this album and the setting and this whole dystopian city stuff I'm going on about, I kind of pictured him on the street, around here, and doing the same thing.
I was going to say, you talk about the actual order of the tracks there. So were you really anal in terms of making sure that the order sort of fit this narrative that you were trying to express in there? Did you want to make sure that the story that's being told resolves nicely towards the end and seems like it is sort of this city that's falling apart and that sort of thing? Is that what you were aiming for?
Yeah, exactly. I spent a lot of time getting that order. I really enjoyed that process because it's pretty much the end of the tracking and recording, and so I messed around with a few other ones, and I listened to it, and then when I got onto this one, I wanted that to open up, because I always think about how it's going to be on vinyl. I'm always cautious of lengths, and I thought I'd love to open up side B with that particular track.
Yeah.
And then I thought the closer on side one, The Outside World, was worked pretty good there. It was, so you flip the record and you go over, and then because it gets a bit bit heavy at times and a bit serious, bit of serious rock going on there. And I thought the Start Again was, that it's got the line of, settle down, calm down, dude. Just take the pot off the stove for a second. So I didn't want it to be all doom and gloom and nasty witchcraft and so forth.
I was going to say, because it sounds like then you were listening, because I see that you were listening to a lot of music, and that sort of suited that lockdown thing when you were going to write it, which makes sense that it would influence that sound. But I'm guessing you have quite a decent vinyl collection because you were thinking about that as you're going,
Yeah, I was, and it's somebody asked me the other day what I was listening to, and while I was making the record, I wasn't listening to anything in a similar vein. I was at night. I was listening to a lot of 70s sort of R&B, late 70s R&B. I was loving that, mid 70s. I really I weirdly got hooked on Joe Walsh, and I'm by no means an Eagles fan. And a guy I know who in Scotland said, I said to him one day, it's so hard when people ask you what your favourite albums are, and he just went, he goes, I know mine. And I'm like, oh? And looked at him, and I thought he was going to say something like Pet Sounds, and he said, Joe Walsh Barnstorm, Joe Walsh's first solo record. And I was shocked. I didn't know what to say. And I said, oh my God, it's going to be some Southern rock, some horrific Southern rock. And so I didn't listen to it. And then just before COVID, I found a copy of it, and I went, I'll buy that, and put it on and just had my mind blown. I was like, what is this? This is not the Eagles. So So I was listening
Was
to a lot
was
of,
it like a moment when you first listened to, you know, the moment that everyone has when you first listen to All Things Must Pass, and you realise, fuck, this is what he wanted to do. This is what George Harrison wanted to do all along. Did it feel like that?
It just blew me away. What I couldn't, the feelings I was having, I was like, why did this guy join the Eagles? Like, at what point did he need to join the Eagles? And obviously,
maybe it was his fun side project. I don't know. Like, this was the music he always wanted to make, and the Eagles were just the fun side project that paid the bills.
Well, this is well before the Eagles.
Oh, was it? Yeah. So my Joe Walsh knowledge is very, very limited. Obviously.
And, but yeah, I was listening to that, and I really got into the Joni Mitchell album, Hijira. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Probably. We always mispronounce shit on this show. So, yeah. Welcome to the club.
There you go. So, yeah, I listened to that, and that's a very sort of insular, lonely record. Apparently she penned it on a massive road trip.
Right.
Listening to that a bit, you know, with my morning coffee, when I get into to that kind of workflow and I kind of, it's all a bit of a blur. I just jump in there and do it. So I don't necessarily listen to much. Oh, the other one I listen to a lot, which I don't know if you know, the guitar, one of the ex-guitarists from the Church, Peter Copez.
Yeah.
His solo album, Man, Child or Myth, from '87.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep.
Incredible. Found it in a record store in Memphis, of all places.
Right.
And went to sign.
I was going to say you wouldn't expect like any of the like Church's solo albums to be in Memphis, but I suppose they were big for a while. People forget.
Yeah, they were pretty big over there, and that was through Ryko, which Ryko reissued, did the early reissues of all the Big Star records and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that they reissued Marty Wilson Piper and maybe even one of Steve Kilby's albums as well. So that was a good score, because I got home and I went, oh, this is a lot better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, nice. You got a very old school approach to, even in this digital age. Like you got the very old school approach to records. You really don't know what you're buying until you first put it on the needle.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it can end in tears. I've got some really bad albums here.
What's your favourite bad album? Like, everyone's got an album that's just so bad it's good.
Oh, I don't know, because I don't.
Are you too embarrassed to say? Is that the problem?
Yeah, no, you know when people say, like, I remember reading one of these tastemakers or something, and they were, what's your guilty pleasure record? And her guilty pleasure record was Led Zeppelin 2. And I'm like, what? That's
not a guilty pleasure record.
I don't have a guilty pleasure. Like, if I love it, I love it. If I don't, you know,
guilty pleasure isn't the same as bad. The whole point of a guilty pleasure is that you like it. Yeah, and everyone else thinks it's cheesy.
I don't actually think. Is it something that I'm listening to that other people would deem as bad?
Well, that's a guilty pleasure, isn't it? No.
Is KFC a guilty pleasure?
If you're going to go in culinary terms, yes.
Oh, well, then that's definitely a guilty pleasure. I love the Colonel.
There's a bit of a meme factor there. There's a Facebook group called Blokes and Their Zinger Boxes, and that gets a lot of. It's actually a lot of. That's the thing about those. You know, you got the blokes in their ice creams, blokes in their breakfast, blokes in their Zinger Boxes. Like, it's probably like, yeah, absolutely. It's the premise of these groups is that you go on there, you post a picture or a selfie of you as a bloke doing whatever activity that the title suggests. So in the case of blokes in their Zinger Boxes, you're destroying a Zinger box, or you're chowing into one. And yes, you'll get absolutely roasted, but there is so much, like, it's such a blokey thing, but at the same time, it makes you laugh so much that you're getting self-roasted. That it is really such. It's. I think it's helped a lot of people during lockdown that they're in such an Australian way, like that. Yeah, it's a bit hard to explain. It's like it's trying to explain Australian, culture. in an on-air format. Like, we love roasting the shit out of each other, but we know it's a joke to the point at where it actually helps your positive mental health, that everybody's just taking shit out of each other. It's
Wow. Over their zinger boxes.
over their zinger boxes. Well, then you got the blokes and their breakfasts, and it'll be, and then the convention is to go. So in the example of zinger boxes, if you're going to put a positive comment, you go zing on, yada yada yada. Like, or if in the case of you do not like their post, you go zing off, and then, so in the case of breakfast, it'll be breck on or breck off. Yeah, or wax on or wax off.
I'm getting an education in the modern social media goings on.
A shit posting, I think, is the best thing, the best contribution that I think Australia's made to the internet. The shit post is a purely Australian invention that we came up with it, but it's gone global and it's really sort of, I think, exposed the world to modern Australian humour, and I am so happy about it.
Oh, awesome! I need to get involved in all this.
Yeah, it was great during lockdown because it was just such a way of connecting with blokes, and it's just, good fun. Good fun roasting each other.
Damn it, I shouldn't have made this stupid album.
Should have made the roast album. Should have just been, what was it? No, it was that Blue Juice. Remember they had the album, it was just a roast chicken? Or it was like a big giant chicken?
I didn't know.
There's one with Broken Leg. Remember when Broken Leg came out and it was getting played all the time? It was off that album.
Ah, right.
Because that was a band that never took themselves seriously, and the cover of their album was a roast chicken.
There's nothing wrong with a roast chicken.
No.
I don't know if it makes for a great album cover, but look, each to their own.
Well, Blue Juice is Blue Juice, but actually, speaking of roast chickens, you know the comedian That's What I Reckon? He did like the cooking shows. He did the cooking videos during lockdown, and he just did one on a roast chicken as well. So I'm educating you in things to watch.
You're going to have to send me all of these things to watch. What am I doing? Sitting here making self-indulgent art rock when I could be reading about blokes and zingers, and I could make some bloke rock.
Yeah,
do the film clip at Young Henry's, and just in a pair of work boots, King G's, and a singlet, and
come off with instead of flicking, doing the dramatic takeoff with the coat, like the robe or whatever in Star Wars. You come up with your dry as a bone or whatever, and just off she goes. Pass us a draft, will you, love?
Or sitting, listening to ironic music like "Horses" by Darryl Braithwaite and "You're the Voice" and all that kind of thing. And later on, you get a bit fair dinkum and put "Harvest" on by Neil Young.
Oi,
this is me. It's a new me.
What Jumping Jack or whatever the name of that album was called was brilliant. Don't you dare diss. Is it like fucking singing Jack? I forget the name of the album.
Whispering Jack.
Come on, mate. Singing Jack.
Album, you don't know what it's called.
I can't even remember what it's called. But don't diss that album.
What's a good album?
It's not guilty pleasure if it's good.
Exactly right. It's like I don't listen to bad music.
What I wanted to chat about, Wade, was because you're a well-travelled man, Wade. You're a well-travelled man. You've been everywhere. Memphis, bloody Europe. I don't know. Where haven't you been?
I haven't been to Africa.
Okay. Is that somewhere you do want to go?
Yes, I do want to go. I do want to go to Africa.
And don't say Africa and think it's one country. Like, be specific. No. What part?
I want to go to the Africa.
The Africa. That place.
I'd love to go to Chad just because it's probably my favourite country name ever.
That's the internet rubbing off on you.
Yeah, no, I've always been fascinated by Chad. It's like I did meet a couple from Chad once, and I was talking to them for ages because I was so intrigued. I'm always intrigued by anyone that's travelled to or anywhere, and someone goes out to Dubbo. I'm usually like, hey, so where did you stay? What did you do? But
how's the Western Plains Zoo?
Yeah, it's good time. But yeah, I'd love to go to Africa and love to go to Kenya, Ethiopia, Somalia. Well, anywhere that I can go. I've friends that have done a lot of travelling in Africa, and I love all their stories, and so I'd really pick their brain. I've never been to India, and I would love to go there as well.
Yeah, I have I guess I feel a little bit more traveled. I have been there, and it is so much to do. Yeah.
Yeah, to do it properly, I'm assuming you'd need, a good, at least a good month.
Good year or more, probably.
Yeah, well.
It's like, see you, love. I'll see you next year.
Copy you next year.
Don't forget the Deli Belly.
I can do my own, I'll do my own, what is it? Self-indulgent bloke rock.
In India. That'd
Yeah.
probably blow their minds. They would have never heard anything like it, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, it'd be great to, I'd love to get over there sometime. Yeah. I've been to Sri Lanka. That was amazing.
I was going to say, I always like to ask this for people that have played around the world a bit. But is there any particular city that sort of has, maybe you weren't expecting it at the time, that has sort of stood out to you as a really, really good place to play or get involved with the music?
That I've actually played in, or that what I'd love to play in?
We'll go both, because where have you been that's been amazing, and where would you like to play?
Hands down, Spain was amazing. My second album was licensed by a label over there, so I went over and did a tour, and that was mind blowing. It was the crowd was amazing, and I didn't even realise I was headlining on the first show. I went, what? It was sold out, and
what did they let you know in Spanish? Did they?
Sorry?
Did they let you know in Spanish?
Yeah. And that was, singing back the words. And I was like, this is weird.
Wow.
I lost I was trying to sing the first track, and I could think of looking, what are you're singing?
Oh, you didn't do now it's your turn. Pulling the mic at the crowd.
I wish I had it, but I spent a fair bit of time. That was actually I'll digress for a second, because that was actually that first show was great, because there's this journalist there that came out at the end with a cigar and a notepad, and he looked like exact cross between Keith Richards and Tom Waits. And he came out and he goes, "What it?"
So it sounds like he'd seen a bit.
And he goes, "I am Gonzalo. I want to ask you a few questions." And so he asked me, did a little quick interview out the front. It was great. And in the paper the next day, it had McCartney on one page, like a live review of McCartney, because he played there as well.
Yeah.
And then it had a little article with me, and it was because I'd got learned a bit of Spanish in Argentina, and it said Wade Jackson comes to us with his guitar prowess and his Argentinian accent.
Sounds a little bit like colonial, folks.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I've made it.
It's like a guy from India that I knew that grew up with an international school, had an American accent, and then when he went home, people had told him he had an Australian accent when he spoke English, and he's like, "What the fuck?"
Wow. International school accents are just...
Move over, Mr. Pitbull. I'm Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah, what is going on here? What it's like having the weirdest meal of Chinese and Italian mixed together or something in like a pasta or and noodles, and it's strange. Sounds delightful, actually.
I've made this comment before. Ravioli is basically the Italian version of a dumpling. Don't at me.
I'd agree.
Like it is.
I'd agree.
You say Chinese Italian food, but I'm sorry. Look at like my girlfriend whose parents are Chinese and Malay. She just says spaghetti is the Italian version of noodles. Like she calls it spaghetti noodles, and I go no. As a WOG, as the spaghetti authority in this household,
when you think about it, it's pastas, noodles. What's the equivalent? What's the gnocchi equivalent in Asian cuisine?
I'm still working on that, but I don't. Whatever they've used potato for.
Do they use potato?
I don't know. Probably every culture has stolen the potato and used it in their cuisine. I'm sorry, but like the potato is just amazing. Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, true.
Look at it. Like the Japanese have taken up potatoes. I think somewhere along the line. Don't quote me on that. I'm not exactly the expert on Japanese cuisine. Like actually, speaking of India, like a very popular style of curry uses potatoes and tomatoes.
I love that curry. I'm aware of that curry.
Yeah, Anglo-Indian curry. And yeah, okay, Anglo is probably like the the word there that, probably gives it away. But
that's a good curry, the potato curry.
It is very nice. But you see what I mean?
Yeah, now I'm hungry.
Tempura batter, actually, tempura batter. That's why I was thinking of it. Apparently, tempura batter was introduced by the Portuguese when they were trading with the Japanese.
The bloody Portuguese,
Yep.
mate. They really were ahead of their time.
Yep. Apparently, it's based off like a Portuguese batter. And like the word tempura comes from a Portuguese word. Like it's a very, like you look at what their word is for fried food, and it's very similar. Apparently.
Yeah. Now they know how to make some good tucker.
I'm sure they do.
Good times. Actually that could be the other city I would love to play in would be Tokyo.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of the Japanese, they've I suppose you're probably aware of the same thing, just the idea that they can latch on to you as a fan base. Apparently, once you get that core fan base, they'll never leave you. That's all I've been told.
That's what I've heard. The most loyal fans. I love that country and I love that city, and I reckon it would be amazing to play a good sized show there. Minimum of 500 people.
Whatever their equivalent of festival hall is.
There you go. Imagine that. I don't know. I'm assuming there are a fair few places like that.
Whatever the Sydney equivalent of festival hall is, you're probably like, what's he going on about?
I did play festival hall once.
Okay.
And I was playing for bass for Bells Will Ring and supporting Pulp.
Right.
Many moons ago. It was amazing to play that. Good times.
You've brushed up. You've brushed with some very, very, very big names. Paul McCartney, Jarvis Cocker, or whatever. Cocker's his surname, isn't it? Jarvis Cocker.
Yep.
Yeah. I had a guy I knew that looked like a spitting image of him, and I knew, I saw his face, you look like someone I know. You look like a famous person. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Then I saw a video with Pulp, and I was like, that's who he looks like. He looked like an early 2000s Jarvis Cocker.
Oh, he must have been a cool-looking dude.
He was,
very cool.
He was a very bit of a shit talker, but in the best way possible.
Hip, very hip.
He was very hip, yeah. I want to chat a bit about, before we get too carried away, before we play one of your other tracks, I want to chat real quickly, because speaking of live gigs, you just, a few days ago, played your launch for the album. So I just wanted to chat a bit about that. How did that come out, by the way?
That was fantastic. It was. I haven't played a show in my own, as Wade Jackson, I guess, my own tracks in Australia for 5 years.
Wow!
Since my second album came out, and
4 years. Last year didn't count.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 4 years, and I was extremely nervous, and then with the numbers, and it looked like there was going to be another outbreak.
True.
I was pretty nervous about it, but it was fantastic. It had such a great time. It was so much fun. Everyone there was just awesome and encouraging, and they seemed to like it. And the other Magnetic Heads and Lewis Goldmark played, and that was so much fun. And the venue, Mosh Pit in Erskineville, it was fantastic. Small room, beautiful sounding PA, good folks. So it went swimmingly.
That's what you want for when you've got numbers limits and that at the moment. You just want a nice, smaller venue where you can get a bit more intimate, don't you?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was a perfect sized audience. So in my mind, I was going to look all empty, but it was great. It was people were socially distancing as best they could, and the pouring cold beers and nice wines, and it was just an all-round good time. I'm very keen to get some shows happening again, and then hopefully get down to Melbourne.
Yeah, it would be fun to see you. That'd be good. I was going to say, what was the setup playing live? Was it just solo, or did you have people backing you up?
No, I had. So I was playing a bit of guitar, and then I had Liam Judson playing guitar, full-time guitar.
Yeah.
I was singing, obviously. And then I had Darren Lane playing keys, and we used backing tracks.
Okay.
Because just with the numbers and the rehearsal time to be able to get a drummer to play with with the backing tracks and clicks and all that kind of thing, whatever that new age jazz is, would have been difficult. Plus finances, so I couldn't expect someone to learn all of that and do all the rehearsals and that the way that it worked out with the three of us playing, it was great because we could rehearse in just a small little room. We didn't have to have the volume up, and it kind of we got it together pretty quick like that because we could stop and talk about it. Whereas someone's doing they're playing their, what are they called? On the snare drum when when you play in a band and the drummer's just always hitting the drums when you're trying to talk between songs. It's like, dude, no.
Yes,
it's over.
I know the feeling. This is not
practicing
the
their bloody
breakdown section.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, dude. Thanks.
I was going to say, with the types of songs though on the album, having that setup though would have probably worked really well for bringing those songs to a live setting.
Yeah, it definitely worked well because there's quite a bit happening, but it was also good to we kind of labelled it going off script. So we'd have tracks where it'd just be the three of us playing, so there'd be no backing track, and we worked that out. We did that as much as we could to just get away from it sounding too robotic with the backing tracks and all that. So it we messed around with the songs a bit to give them a bit more of a live feel. It's kind of, I guess it's kind of boring if you go and watch a show and they played exactly like the album. I've never been into that kind of thing. It's a bit boring, isn't it?
Got to get a bit of variety in there.
Yeah, I mean, not that anyone knew the album, but they still turned up. Really like that one.
Really?
That one you played after that other one where you were like yelling like a demented Dracula. Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
Who was doing the drum work? I was going to say they did a really good job.
The drumming was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Isaac Amanoff back there.
Yeah, I should have.
Fucking second law over here.
Just had a set of kit up with like a blow up doll or something on it.
Just a mannequin
Yeah.
to throw people off. Is he actually moving? It was animatronic arms just moving up and down, not in time with the music or anything, just to give the illusion that there's something going on back there.
Yeah, there you go. That's I'm writing this idea down as we speak.
He's just like furiously scribbling notes. Album number 6.
Yeah, because that'd be awesome to load the drum kit and everything in as well. Like get to the venue and put the mannequin together and love that.
No, it's just like set up the drum kit as if there's a real drummer coming out, and then right at the last minute, just sneak out the mannequin as you're about to start.
Do the exact drum setup that Dave Lombardo and Slayer has. So you got the two bass drums, the whole setup, like it's pristine, like the one in on Step Brothers. When he says, "You can't touch my drums." That exact thing every show, untouched.
Just more toms than you can. Something a Tom Academy. I don't know. There was a joke there. That's why they call me Major Tom.
Yeah, there you go. Brilliant.
Let's get. I was going to say before we get on to talking. Actually, we'll talk about the next song we're going to play because this song's an absolute ripper. It's a bit of a slow burn, but in a really good way. Like it opens up the album, so it is really a sort of grab your attention kind of opener, which I sort of got when I was listening to it. But I'm of course talking about the title track, "Sensationalized." So tell us a bit about what scene you were kind of trying to set with this song, and what you were trying to aim in terms of it, because it's very much. I've got a lot of long instrumental sections.
Well, I was going for the whole hypnotic feel, and especially as the introduction, and it was. I just thought. With all the crazy social media stuff and, people getting this weird notoriety on your bloody phone and all that kind of thing. And everything just became so became so sensationalized. And I remember saying to my parents when they, announced coronavirus it started spreading, I was like, oh, here they go, sensationalizing another bloody disease, how wrong I was.
Yep.
But it was that's kind of just setting the whole scene of that in my little world that I had going on, that if things had have gone, pear-shaped, none of that would have mattered. All your dreams of being this star or starlet on social media would be dashed because of the dystopian city. So I wanted to kind of set the scene of you kind of entering that world, but you're about to walk into a bit of a nightmare. So setting it up to say let's step on in and see how we go.
Nice. That's cool. I suggest we should let the music speak in a sec, but before we do, tell us where we can find your socials, your music, of course, the album, and I guess where we can keep up to date with what's going to be coming up in the coming months, I guess.
Well, I'm on all the social medias that I put a lot of shit on. I'm on you can get me on Facebook. I'm WadeJacksonMusic.com. What else is there? Instagram. I've got about 12 followers on Twitter if you want to become Lucky 13.
Sounds like a plan.
And Bandcamp, of course.
Yeah. And so it's WadeJackson.com for your website, which I'm assuming links to everything.
WadeJacksonMusic.com.
Wade Jackson Music. I'm assuming there's another Wade Jackson out there that's taken that first one. Okay.
Yeah, he has. And there was a pretty famous country singer in the 50s, 60s called Wade Jackson as well.
Best not get them confused.
His big hit was called Sippin' on a Sud. That's
Maybe
what
you
we're
should
doing.
cover it. Maybe do like the electro experimental thing with it.
Yeah, turn it into some good old fashioned art party rock.
Wade, Sippin' on a Sud by Wade Jackson, remixed by Wade Jackson.
Yeah, I can hear it now, like full techno.
And I'm assuming the music you're on all the streaming sites as well. If people want to go and listen to the album in full,
Spotify, Apple Music. What's Tidal? They're all there.
All of them. Wherever you stream, wherever you stream your tunes.
Wherever you stream, you should be able to find me there. You might have to dig deep, but you should find me there somewhere.
Thanks to Broken Stone Records and Remote Control Records for putting it together and getting us in touch and telling us about what you do, Wade, because it's been so much fun chatting. I want to thank you for coming in.
Yeah, mate. Thanks for having me. Yeah, and they're good folks at Broken Stone and Remote Control, and I appreciate all their hard work. Tough times for them.
Of course, the album is out now via Broken Stone Records, so please do give it a spin when you get a chance, because it is a great album to listen to from start to finish. Wade, thanks again. You want to tell us who you are and what we're about to listen to?
I can do that. I'm Wade Jackson, and you're listening to the title track from my new album called Sensationalized.
Yeah, take it away.
sensationalized. Like the twilight, falling angel, by the river. I'm sensationalized.
AustralianMusiciansRadio.com